I cast you into the pits of fire. You think you can fool me? I see you. We will meet again.
What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to be talking about Roric Wyrmbane, upcoming Fragment Fusion. The question is he still good? Is he still worth it after testing? And that's what I want to show you here today. So the first key point we're going to look at is how many books this guy takes, what's his utility going to be, and how you can best build him after I've tested him just a little bit for you as we do start the early stages of this fusion here. So Aura, the Aura is going to be very good no matter where you decide to use him. However, 4 books, 8 books, 12 books, that is a lot of legendary books. And if you are aware of the kit here, you really want to book this A2 here, giving you a 100% chance of stunning the other enemies. So you do have to keep something like that in mind. As far as the A3 goes and the A1 goes, there's not a huge value in the books. Yes, you do get 10% chance, going up to a 50% chance of placing that stun effect. However, the main focus here is going to be on this A2 here. So the first thing I wanted to do, this being a legendary barbarian attack based with very high base attack, I really wanted to see how hard this guy hits so I can better judge where most people will get their value from this champion. So what we're going to do is we're going to head straight to the Dragon's Lair here. And I'm using very strong gear with this champion, and that is because I use the same type of gear on every champion that I test so I can compare how good this champion is in relation to other champions. So the first thing we're going to talk about here as we take it off auto is his special interaction between the stun here. I gave him damage as well as accuracy here because that stun is so powerful it would be such a waste not to use it. With that being said, he definitely loses some value in the amount of damage he can stack compared to champions that I've tested like Trunda and every single AoE damage dealer you can think of. So we have an attack up here, we're going to have a defense down and weaken from Lydia being applied here. But one of the keys here is we need Sifi and Arbiter for increased speed, increased turn meter to make sure this guy's getting that stun, because as we can see here, it has to fully deplete the target's turn meter to even apply the stuns to all enemies for 1 turn. So with that being said, we're going to aim for the lowest turn meter we can see in front of us, which definitely gives Roric a slight disadvantage in any type of PvE content you want to check this guy out in, because he's going to have to be relatively fast. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and test out this damage here. Okay, so 100,000 damage, I can tell you for a fact, that is extremely underwhelming. We did see the AoE stun go out amongst the other champions here. Let's go ahead, 2 times speed, cycle back around so we can see what his kind of highlight skill being that A3 and one of his main benefits here that he's going to use to counterattack. This is supposed to be his hard hitting ability here. Scale Breaker, ignoring 50% defense. I do have a Helm Smasher chance to proc. I have Savage Gear on, so that's built in 75% ignore defense. Let's see if this hits hard enough. Okay, so that damage right there, if you wanted to compare that to Trunda, Trunda does about 400,000 damage on her double hit. This is a single hit, of course, and it's single target, so 300,000 definitely isn't crazy as far as damage goes. It's middle of the pack at best, keeping in mind we always will need accuracy, so there was no point in me just building this guy straight damage off the bat. So now that that test is kind of done, I'll cycle through one more time just so you guys can see what the A1 damage is looking like. But after that, we're going to go into some realistic gear sets that everyone should be using after seeing what his damage in fact looks like. So you have attack up again to make sure everything's on an even playing field. Looking at this double hit A1, let's go ahead and see how hard this A1 hits. Okay, so once again, the A1 and the A2 are going to be about equal with all things considered. So despite his high attack, despite his A3 being so good with ignore defense, that's just going to be an added bonus to how we should be gearing this champion and how you guys should be using him. Now that we got that out of the way, just to let you see really quickly what his stats were. 6.7 thousand attacks, so insanely high, 279 crit damage, enough accuracy to debuff most content in this game, 100% crit rate of course, 160 speed, and the rest of the stats do not matter. So we gave him a ton of stats here to make sure he was doing a proper amount of damage. However, as we just saw, very underwhelming. So what would I recommend as far as gear sets for this champion if you're going to use him to progress through content? The first one will be Relentless gear because you want as many turns as possible. However, this goes back to the point of how you should be gearing him, which is going to be accuracy, high speed for PvE content, because you have to make sure whatever target you're going to hit, all of his values coming from that stun and getting that stun back off of cooldown here. So it is likely this guy's going to be going in front of your debuffer, who's going to be your defense down, weaken, whatever type of champion you have. He's probably going to be going first here because the stun is so important on that low turn meter, and then the other skills that hit a bit harder like that A3 ability is then going to be used after that. The second set that I would recommend outside of Relentless gear is going to be Reflex gear. We all know how strong Reflex gear is after seeing all these really cool Infinity teams, so anything we can do to make sure this skill is coming off of cooldown as many times as possible. The great news is, even if you decide not to book him and go for some RNG here, as far as placing that stun, it's still a 3-turn cooldown, so this guy can be an absolute menace to your team. So for any type of PvE content, whether it be dungeons, campaign, faction wars, that's how I would recommend it. Now some people might be thinking, Murder, there's direct synergy with counterattacking. He's so good, his hardest hitting ability is going to be that crossbow shot he does have. So what about the counterattack sets? I can honestly tell you, in my opinion, I would never use a set like this, because one, it's extremely uncommon and they've been considered very bad sets for a very long time. On top of this only being a 35% chance, so you really don't want to use a set that has a 35% chance of making a kit valuable here, as opposed to something like Reflex or Relentless. Yes, it's still RNG, but the RNG for Relentless and Reflex is going to benefit more than just one skill and interaction here. And as we already established, as good as this guy's damage is, it's unlikely most people are going to be building him pure damage because of all of the other stats he's going to need as a champion. So if you really wanted to capitalize on this, I would either run a champion that applies counterattack to your team, or simply head on over to the Masteries here and select this Mastery, Retribution, as well as Deterrence. So with that being said, that's going to be the main breakdown for PvE content. Now one thing I don't want to talk about just yet because I have to do more testing is going to be Clan Boss, and the question is going to be how much damage can this do in a counterattack Clan Boss team. That's going to need its whole separate video because there's a really key point interaction here that I do want to talk about when going over this, and I really don't want people to miss that point, so I want to drive it home in its separate video. But the next thing I want to talk about is going to be probably another really premier use of this champion. So the one part I really want to talk about for this guy is going to be the arena, and I think at the moment he's a little bit slept on as far as his potential in that area of the game. So as we all know, the newest accessory we do have available to us from the spending wars or clan versus clan is going to be reaction gear. Now this guy is going to be such a strong champion in a reaction go second team for a couple reasons that really gets driven home by his base kit. So you would just put on as much reaction gear as you could possibly find. If you had any attack gear, that would be good. However, you do want him a bit tanky here, so I wouldn't mind putting him in whatever I have. Of course, not everyone's going to have the ability to use 3 reaction pieces on a champion like this. I do happen to have perfect ones for this champion overall. Let's just go ahead and equip this here. As we can see from this gear, he is extremely slow. I definitely wouldn't build him with these same stats here. What I would do with this build is I would redo the Savage gear and try to get him to at least 170 speed or 180 speed. Lower the attack. The crit damage is a little bit low because the amulet is not upgraded and the banner is not upgraded as well, lowering the amount of accuracy we have as well. However, if I was going to build him for a really strong go second team in the arena here with reaction gear, I would aim for, like I said, 170 to 180 speed and about 300 accuracy, then as much damage as possible, focusing first on 100% crit rate. So one thing you'll see right away here is this guy scales with low turn meter, and you will never be able to stun your target if you try to go first in the arena. Any enemy team with the speed over 260 speed overall is going to make it an absolute nightmare to fully deplete their turn meter. So it's much better to just simply go second in this team, which is currently in the meta right now for the best arena teams in the game, especially when it comes to defense. So on top of that, you can really use things like that mastery that we discussed of retribution, as well as deterrence here in case your team gets debuffed. You can pair him someone with Riho to make sure he's having all of the debuff cleanse from himself. You can pair him with someone like a Doom Priest, but the key is going to be making sure this guy makes it to that round 2. And we also get a counterattack buff. So one of the best arena champions, of course it's a rather exclusive champion, and it is a legendary champion. Any counterattack champion will work perfectly fine. But as far as arena goes, we all know that Valkyrie is going to be the queen in that aspect because she has this really cool passive that has a tendency to cut off the enemy team if they are going first. So if you did build a team like this, definitely don't put any type of reaction on Valkyrie because she's going to get a boost in her turn meter. But the goal here is to get this counterattack buff with the shield onto Roric here, and especially aim for teams like Krisk here, like Kanjafan that have AoE abilities. If they had a Kymar, that would be even better here, because Kymar also has an AoE A1, which should be proccing the counterattack over and over again for Roric, and he would be doing insane damage to these teams here. So with that being said, let's give this team a go here. We have survivability with Duchess, we have Sifi here, double revive. Of course, like I mentioned, we have Valkyrie, and finally Roric. Let's see what we can do against this team with 2 AoE champions here, being Krisk as well as Kanjafan. So let's go ahead and start this off in 1x speed here. Sifi is going to go first, boosting Valk, and everything worked just as planned here. We have no one crazy fast on our team, just survivability. Let's go ahead and use this counterattack. Now let's go ahead and add increased defense and increased speed on everybody. There's the first counterattack, shredding through that shield. Now we should be seeing a second counterattack here going onto Kanjafan. That one did 51,000, didn't quite get through the shield there, which is surprising. Let's go ahead and use our Veil buff. Another AoE like we discussed from Krisk here. We're going to counterattack once again with that very hard-hitting ability. Keep in mind we have no defense down on these champions, so this is just pure damage coming out on this team here. You know what, let's just go ahead and put this on auto and see what happens. Ideally we want Krisk and Kanjafan resetting his cooldowns as often as possible so many AoEs come out where we can really take advantage of that counterattack from Roric Wyrmbane. There we have a nice refresh to the counterattack ability. We have the provoke that was resisted and deflected because we have block debuffs. Sifi getting very low there. Now they no longer have shields on, so we should be seeing some pretty nice results as they start their AoEs once again, which should be coming shortly. There's the first one. Okay, 142,000 damage there. Now we have attack down. Let's see what happens against this Kanjafan. 48,000, easy cleanup there. We haven't even had to use any revives yet. He should be getting a turn soon. So let's see if we can counterattack this team. Of course, this team's going to be slow. This isn't a real arena team here, but once again, another counterattack, easy kill. We have that A1 that we all know doesn't hit as hard as we would like it to. Now the focus is going on Roric here, and as we can see, he's becoming a monster. Duchess might not be the best pair, as we can see. She's placing that perfect Veil buff, making him unable to be targeted, and he normally would because his health is so low. So that is definitely going to be one of the downsides here. So someone like an Ursuga, someone like a Krisk yourself, anything to make as many counterattacks get off from this champion is going to make him so strong no matter where you are in the game. I'm of course fighting someone who has a very good team here, so this just goes to show you how this can work in other difficulties outside of Gold Arena. Platinum, this is going to be really cool to see. Yes, it's rather slow, however, for a defense team, I would expect some monster teams to come of this. So after doing my testing on all of these areas of the game, I would say he's definitely still worth going for as a champion. However, keep in mind you will want to maximize his efficiency by booking him. If you're not booking him, don't expect anywhere near the results you see in this video from him. With much lower gear, he's still going to be a massive problem in the arena, especially on defense like I just showed you. If you do have specifically a Valkyrie, but any other counterattack champion, it is possible you can consider something like Avenging gear, if you don't have reaction gear of course, because it significantly lowers your chance of getting crit on that crucial first turn there with Avenging gear. But if for some reason you're one of the probably 1 in a million people that have a really good damage dealing set of the counterattack set, go ahead, throw it on for the arena. I think it's definitely fine to use there. You probably wouldn't be running Relentless or Reflex in the arena because the value of this A2 is going to drop significantly. Because while it may sound very easy to fully deplete the target's turn meter, it's not that easy in practice because of how different so many players are going to have their speed tunes spread out. So overall, he's definitely an above average fusion champion. If you're one of those people who go for them no matter what, he might not be sitting in your vault surprisingly like I've showed you, or is pretty cool use in the arena. If you're progressing through this game and you do have the resources, this guy's definitely going to be worth it from a progression standpoint. And as I did mention, I will come out with a clan boss video to show you guys a really important synergy that you can really take advantage of with this guy's passive Titan's End. Alright guys, that's going to conclude my video for you today. What do you guys think of Roric Wyrmbane? Do you think he's better than we initially saw when we just read his abilities? Do you think he's worse after seeing that his damage really can't compete with a real damage dealer as far as single target goes? Are you still happy with his output numbers considering he offers so much more outside of that with an AoE stun once he is booked? Give me your guys' feedback, let me know if you're going to be pursuing this champion, and thank you all for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next upload, and I'll see you all in the next video.